award with the Karmavir Puraskar today, and all of you applied after having gone through the application process. We are into the 7th year this year, and 7 years of trying to find people who are making a difference in our society, not just in India but across the globe. And this year we've floated something called the Rex Karmavir Global Fellowships, because over the past few years, we've been trying to find people who are making a change, and while we find a lot of people who've been making consistent change, sustaining their efforts, we also find people who just started out. And when those people get nominated, we've realized that they are very shy about accepting the award because they feel that they've not done enough. And I appreciate that humility and I accept that humility. And that's how we thought about creating the Karmavir Chakra actually around 2 years ago, along with the UN, where we said, let's democratize volunteering and championing change. And we've had some Karmavir Chakra over the past 2 years, but then we felt that we needed to bring this all under one umbrella, and that's how the Rex Karmavir Global Fellows was created this year. And we have some very, very illustrious people who are going to be awarded the Rex. People give money to a NGO, seeing a child's face, and then in the cocktail circuit, they are boasting about how they have saved the world. Because the NGO's literature talks about join us to change the world and save the world. And my prayer to them is, have you even looked into the child that you supported? And they have no clue, because all they are doing is getting a report, which mostly is fudged. I'm sorry to say that, and I blew the whistle on one such NGO, internationally in Time magazine. Right? Because there are child reports which are being made in what I call as the oldest BPO in India, right? Probably around 25 years old, much before the IT BPO process started. And those child reports were being sent to donors in the UK, in the US, and other places by saying that this is the progress you're seeing in the... And the same picture was being sent to thousands of donors, right? So that's charity. Now, most people who give to these children organizations or organizations which are doing these appeals then say that we are actually kind of doing something because we don't have time. And I'm like, why don't you have time? Because, I mean, would you expect to give money at home and expect your children to become engineers or doctors without looking into their progress? Or would you look into their progress? That's what I mean by social justice, the involvement. How are you getting involved in the process of change? And that actually became our passion mantra, as I call it, that please don't give money. There is enough money in this country and in the world, which comes from aid, which comes from taxpayers' money, which can make the change in education. But education itself has become a scam. I remember around 2 years ago, there was this, it was Omar Abdullah who was doing a charity fundraising dinner. And I wrote at that time, I said, instead of doing a charity fundraising dinner, where you'll probably raise 1 crore of rupees for your wife's foundation and then spend 60% on that in the Taj Palace where you're hosting the dinner, right? And it'll become a pastry affair. And it became that because it came on page 3. It was splashed across all newspapers in Hindustan Times and Times of India. But less than around 30 lakhs was saved for the foundation which was working on so-called children welfare, founded by Omar Abdullah's wife. Omar Abdullah sits on 6,000 crores of rupees, which is meant for education. And education is the most poorly governed in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now, I think if his time and efforts were more concentrated on creating better governance there, then the education system would have improved. But there's no political will because there's lack of good governance. And the citizens are not doing anything about it because that's where all our money is getting scammed. So why do we need to give more money to charity, right? So that's exactly where the thought process of iCongo started. And we said, please don't give money, get involved and see how are you driving change, because it's not enough to give money, right? And that's where we thought that we would create these awards, where we would award people who are doing something with all humility to see how they can get involved in the process of change. I'm happy to say that we have some of those people here today who are doing a lot in the process of change. So besides creating the Rex Karmavir Global Fellows this year, we also created something called the the Karmavir Golden Candle Awards, which is for erstwhile Karmavir awardees who are continuing doing good work in their space. And we have 2 of them with us today. I think Sumitra, I can see. Is Abhishek here with us? Sumitra is doing a lot of work with the community, and Abhishek is also doing work with the homeless community, is not here. So I'll start off with Sumitra because she's the recipient of the Golden Candle Award this year. So please come and tell us about what it feels like to be a Karmavir awardee and what it has motivated you to do more.
Wow, indeed, it's wonderful to be here. And why very important for me to be here is because Karmavir is something that we all try and actually imbibe into our system when we get into the social development sector. We don't mean to be making big changes around, but I think individually whatever that you can do, as you see the candle here. I remember when I sent the application this time for all the awardees Karmavir. I got the Karmavir Puraskar in 2010 under Lifelong Fight for Social Justice. And this time when I had applied, I had just written ki there's one song which is very, I can't quote all those Socrates and all that, क्योंकि मैं ज़्यादा पढ़ी लिखी नहीं हूँ वैसे, lot of degrees behind me, but that has got nothing to do with what I'm doing today, because it's the will and the zeal and the zest that you want to do something, and even individually you can make the difference. तो हो सकता है वो हमारे में वो जुनून होना चाहिए कि हम लोग कुछ कर दिखा सकते हैं, वो दूसरों के लिए दिखाने के लिए नहीं. लाइक ही राइटली सेड कि लोग लिखते हैं फिर वो गुडविल फैक्टर के लिए आजकल जे रही है. I remember writing in one of the blogs for mental health program that people today get into volunteering is because they want to feel good, that feel good factor. और फिर और कुछ करने के लिए नहीं है, टाइम पास मतलब अच्छा लगता है. एंड देन यू हैव दिस अदर स्टेटस सिंबल में आप डालते हो वॉलंटियरिंग विद क्राई और वॉलंटियरिंग विद सम पर्टिकुलर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन. तो इस वजह से काफ़ी लोग ऐसे चीज़ों में जुड़ जाते हैं. But my experience with the social sector is primarily because the ADHD element in me, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, I think Dr. Swaroop will know about it. मेरा जिस तरह से घूमना फिरना बात करना है with all the body language proves that there's an ADHD element. So इसको रख के क्या करेंगे? Focus तो नहीं था ज़िंदगी में, अभी भी नहीं है. So then let's get into doing something that you know the best. You have the energy. He says firebrand, he says lot of energy. Basically, there's all this energy which has to be channelized in the right way. So let's get it done. If you do it with academics, it's not going to be really worthwhile, because I know during my academics, I was out most of the time then inside the class. So बाहर रह के जब पता चला कि बहुत सारी चीज़ें आप कर सकते हो, with all the energy that you have, you're able to do much more and be the candle. वो एक अकेला candle ही ज़रूरी है आपको actually to wipe out the darkness. There's a lovely song which I had written, and I think that should be the spirit of all of the Karmavir awardees, and I congratulate each one of you for being here, because being a part of iCongo and being a part of this network, I'm sorry to use the network, is because you really get into networking and meeting with people from different sectors who trying to make their little bit of contribution towards making this world a better place. So it's सूरज ना बन पाए तो बन के दीपक जलता चल. So it's a very beautiful song, and I think if that is the essence, अगर हम लोग अपने अंदर लेके चलें, तो I think all of us are Karmavir in our own right. और हम लोग वो difference बनाते रहें. And it's been a wonderful experience, because after Karmavir I got to network with some of the older awardees. I was in the state of Jammu and Kashmir and worked with the community there and worked with the disability sector primarily. And like you rightly said, कि पैसे तो बहुत है वहाँ पे. But then I didn't get the funds to travel, In fact, I had to go alone. I mean, I traveled with all the luggage and my daughter who does sibling workshops. Incidentally, I work with the disability sector, Dr. Sampath, because I'm a parent of a 21-year-old boy with special needs. So all the more reason why वो तमन्ना है कुछ कर दिखाने की, क्योंकि एक माँ के स्वरूप में मुझे ये बताना है कि every child has the evolving capacity, however profound or however disabled or so-called special needs we all have. All of us have special needs, लेकिन हमारी इतनी वो ego है ना, हम लोग बताते नहीं है. We all try to believe that we are all very evolved and empowered. But I think thanks to people like Jerry who make us realize that it's nice. You've been in a wonderful journey, and I think come over to Delhi sometimes, and then we'll give you a Golden Candle Award. And yes, even if it's a golden candle, a candle का जो अस्तित्व है, उसकी हुनर और उसकी पहचान तब होती है वो जब जलती है. Exactly. So वो ग्लो देने की कोशिश मेरी रहेगी. Inshallah, I hope I move with the same integrity and commitment in the journey. Thank you so much, Jerry.
Thank you, Sumitra. So we started with a lady keeping in mind gender justice, since we have a lot of gender activists in the group. But we'll now move to a male gentleman. I would like to call Nirmal. And Nirmal was nominated by a person called Mandira, who is also going to become a Rex Global Fellow this year. But Nirmal has been doing sustained work in the field of wildlife preservation, and I'll ask Nirmal to share about what he's been doing.
Good evening. I'm actually a herpetologist. I study reptiles and amphibians as a researcher. About 12 years ago, when I was doing work, I realized that in this area where we work, which is called Northern Western Ghats of India, includes the states of Goa, Karnataka, and Maharashtra. We were a bunch of us who were actually doing research, and this small group which was doing research could analyze data, could basically interpret data. But being a very small group, we had very limited access to the areas that we were working in, and we needed more people to compile data. When I say data, it actually means doing observations right from bird checklist to taking photographs and things like that. And we realized that one element where we can actually step in and get people to help us was youth, was actually children, which is how we started this whole network of what we call research stations. We have 3 research stations now across 3 states, where we work with different types of target groups. We work with small children in rural areas, in rural schools. We work with urban schools. We work with interns and volunteers in colleges. We work with MSc students now, and we also work with PhD students. Our whole focus is very, very specific. We actually think that if any child or any youth is given to understand about the importance of this particular aspect, what we call the Western Ghats, if he's made aware, then he starts appreciating on what these forests are. And once he starts appreciating it, then there is action. We base our things on these 3 aspects, and yeah, it's almost been 10 years that we have been doing it. Some of the children that we started working with have now even got degrees into wildlife biology and conservation and have started doing their own research projects. We've now had this entire project being taken also into Northeast India. We have started working in Arunachal Pradesh, and I hope we are slowly going to go into another sector of global biodiversity importance, which is the Andaman Nicobar Islands. We are starting to work there from next year. I think that's about it. Yeah.
Thank you, Nirmal. So to maintain the balance, I'll move on to a woman again. So it takes a lot of guts to leave the corporate sector. I say that because I'm one of them. And you met some other people who left the corporate sector yesterday and have moved on with the journey of doing something more meaningful in life. And there's some others here in the fellowships who plan to take the plunge very soon. But we have a woman with us today who has left the corporate sector and has become a sarpanch and is making a difference in her panchayat, in her village, a place called Soda. So I would like to call Chavi Rajawat, who's going to be awarded today.
Firstly, thank you, Jerry, and thanks to the entire team for thinking of me. And unfortunately, because of some last-minute crisis, I couldn't reach here on time to speak earlier, but I'm glad to have been given this opportunity. As I noticed over what was said during the last few sessions of speakers, it is important for us to realize that we are responsible for how we want our community and our nation to be. And I think in doing what I'm doing, that's all I'm trying to do, trying to be a facilitator, to help improve the lives of the people in the village, which my family hails from. But I have to be honest here, it wasn't really my decision. It was a decision of the villagers who came to me and fetched me because of the women reservation. And I'm glad I did that because, of course, Jerry spoke about charity, but I do believe in the fact that charity begins at home. And I realized that if I don't come forward to help the village that I hail from, which is my original home, then how can I expect outsiders to come and support the people? Because we have grave situations, but that's the situation not just in my village, but in practically most of the villages in India. And again, going back to what Jerry said, yes, charity need not be the only solution, but there are certain aspects, as far as basic amenities are required, that support is needed, which I'm still sorting, trying to receive. Unfortunately, it hasn't come through, but I'm hoping, I believe in being optimistic, and we have had some sort of help come in little by little, and I'm hoping that will improve. And the reason I'm emphasizing on that is because I think if each one of us could come forward to help in whatever capacity, the nation could change. And I think, especially because I reside in the village mostly, and most of us are far removed from the reality of what rural life really is, that too of remote villages. We don't understand how grave the situation is, how our nation is actually just dipping down the graph and dipping really, really fast. But we're still at a stage where we can fix things, but we have to be open to be willing to do so. We need to be open to understand that there are people out there who do need help. And I've met a lot of people who turn around and say, you know what, I live in the urban sector. I'm not interested in what's going on in the rural area. It doesn't bother me. But the fact is, if you really look at the infrastructural development in cities, it does bother us. Because yes, there's development happening in the urban areas, which is only 30% of the population where it resides. And by the time the infrastructural development happens, you see that the population has increased, the size of the urban slums have increased, the basic infrastructure is unable to cope with the demands of the increasing population in urban areas. So if you want to be a selfish urbanite, be so. But be so understanding that you will still suffer if people in rural areas are not catered to. And I think first and foremost, we have to understand the fact that we're human beings. We need to have that heart, which some of you spoke of in your sessions before, and have the doors to that heart be open. Because it's not fair to be enjoying the kind of lives we do in urban areas at the cost of people living in villages who do not even have the basics such as drinking water, who do not have toilets to go to, who do not have a full square meal. While we go around spending the kind of money we do, I'm not saying don't do that. There is a quotient of happiness that we all need. But we need to understand that by little contribution, which need not just be monetary contribution. And I would also like to share with you, for those of you who are here from the corporate sector, I think we just need to think a little out of the box and come forward to open ventures in rural areas, which I'm happy to share with you, companies such as SAP, Bosch Power Tools, Minda Group, which is into solar electrification. They have come forth in my village and brought that in. So yes, the ROI may seem small because the income received from such areas may be small, but the overheads for the company are also small. So the ROI, if you really look at it, there is profitability in the long run. One just has to be open to realize that. So I'll just leave by just appealing to all of you to help in whatever capacity, be it volunteers, be it in terms of funding, be it in terms of providing the expertise from whichever fields you come from. Like you spoke about understanding the value of land. Big question mark in villages. People don't understand that. Greed is making things really, really bad. One of the reasons I couldn't reach you on time is because of the encroachment on land. And the fact that the local level bureaucracy, by that I'm referring to the district and block level bureaucracy, which is supposed to be accountable, is not accountable. They are shying away from issues which are right in your faces. I'm trying to protect the rights of the common people who do not have drinking water available. While one individual has blocked a common reservoir, we have approached the chief minister, we have approached the chief secretary, and the department says they don't have the maps of the area, which is ridiculous. You have to be blind not to see what that one individual or that one family is doing by restricting the rights of the rest of the village, and yet nobody has come forward. So what do you do? How do you deal with situations like that? And I think that's where the advantage and the power of the collective can come forth. But it's the question of people coming forward and taking that step forward. So I'll just leave with that and like to thank you all again for having me here and for allowing me to speak to the people here.
Thank you, Chavi. Okay. So again, we maintain the balance. The lifelong fight for social justice Karmavir Puraskar is being given posthumously to a young lawyer who was, I'll let Hansal tell you his story. His name was Shahid Azmi, and Hansal's making a movie on him. We have a movie maker, Hansal Mehta, who I happened to meet by chance because his wife is also one of our awardees. And Hansal's been, again, a fighter for social justice for long. He's taken on the system through his movies, also taken on the system and taken on the Sena in Bombay for wrongs that they've been doing in society, and has also been victimized for that. So Hansal Mehta, I would like you to come and speak about your movie and also tell the story of Shahid Azmi as briefly as possible. Thank you, Hansal.
February 2010 was when this young 33-year-old lawyer, Shahid Azmi, was killed. And, when I read his story, I saw my own journey. I mean, all of us, you're not born with a zeal or a mission in life. You're born like any normal person. I was born in Bombay. I was taught that I had to earn money, I had to become an engineer, I had to, I was taught to be selfish. And, but life teaches you different things. When I started making movies, I began making movies with the zeal of, trying to say something new through my movies, trying to make a statement for society, reflecting society. I mean, movies can be a mirror to society. So I made a film about the migrant problem in Bombay in 2000. And I was thrashed up in my office. My face was blackened. I was beaten up. I was asked to touch a lady's feet in a village by the Shiv Sena. And that broke my spirit. It broke my spirit. I said, I'm making movies. I'm a filmmaker. So why don't I make trash and make money? And for 10 years I did that. I made films that I'm unable to even name. Really bad films. And fortunately for me, they did not make me any money because my heart wasn't in it. Till I took a break. I was so disillusioned, I took a break and I read the headlines in the papers saying that Shahid Azmi killed. And here was this young man who had seen the riots in Bombay. I mean, I was unfortunately not in India when the riots happened in Bombay. And when I returned post the riots, I realized I had come back to Mumbai. I was not in Bombay anymore. I was in a polarized, divided city. I mean, it's the story of our world. We're getting more and more polarized. And here was a young man who lived in the slums, saw the riots, went to terrorist camps to express his anger. He thought this was his means of fighting the system. He went to a terrorist camp, ran away disillusioned. He ran away from the terrorist camp, was disillusioned, came back to Mumbai, and he was arrested on the charges. He was 19 years old. He was arrested on the charges of trying to, on conspiracy to kill Bal Thackeray. And he was in jail for 7 years under the TADA Act, so where he was imprisoned purely on suspicion, without a charge for 7 years. He was freed finally. He was finally freed. What he did in jail was it's a message to our world today. I mean, he educated himself. He completed his graduation. He did a diploma in journalism. He came out, studied law, and worked pro bono for people like him who did not have the right or a chance to defense. He defended the defenseless and unfortunately lost his life trying to do that. The last case he was fighting was, it's 26/11 again today. One of the persons who was accused, one of the prime accused in 26/11 was a guy called Fahim Ansari. So that was the last case that he was fighting. He was killed fighting that case. Fahim Ansari, in September this year, Fahim Ansari was acquitted by the Supreme Court. So he was killed because he was awkward. And I decided to tell his story. So, you know, I'm in that sense really small amongst all of you who are doing so much of great work. I'm just trying to tell you Shahid Azmi's story, and hopefully this Karamveer Puraskar will encourage me to tell many more such stories, many more such inspiring stories, and hopefully the stories will inspire people to continue doing what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Hansal. They say that the evil that some people do lives after their death also, as is seen in the case of Bal Thackeray. No kind words for him, unfortunately. But you've seen how Hansal was victimized, how Shahid was victimized, and you're seeing how two girls are being victimized right now in Bombay for putting a simple Facebook post. I don't think they did anything wrong with that, which was very true what they said, because why should Bombay be banned when somebody has died of natural causes? It was not an assassination, it was not a killing. But we live in a society which is hugely polarized, unfortunately. And it's time we took a stand against it, because we need to reclaim this and not allow the people to kind of polarize it further. So thank you, Hansal, and thank you for telling the story of Shahid, because I think it's a story which needs to be told. So it inspires others to take that stand. Yes, we have another girl with us. Her name is Titiya Sharma. Titiya quit her job in media. She used to work, I think, with Hindustan Times, if I'm not mistaken. For me, all the newspapers are the same, so I don't care much for brands. But Titiya quit Hindustan Times and has begun on a journey of her own to find 100 heroes from across the world. So what we are doing through Karmaveer for the past 7 years, she actually travels around the world finding these heroes. Very uncommon heroes, unsung heroes, and she's been writing about them in her blog. It's also being published in the Hindustan Times as the 100 Heroes Project. We support Titiya and what she does.
Hello. I'm slightly unprepared. I didn't know I was supposed to make a speech. But, you know, a couple of years ago, I had a fantastic job. I was actually working at CNBC at the time. You know, making lots of money, didn't have the time to spend it. Everything was going great. Till one day, you know, I turned 27 and I realized that I was just basically like everybody else that I hated and pointed fingers at. I was a victim of, my life was held together by these really predictable patterns, you know. I had no joy in my life. I felt I had no purpose. I felt really disempowered as a woman, especially when I'd be living in, you know, when I'd be in Delhi, even though I was living in Bombay at the time. And I think I just decided to do something about it, especially when I, you know, decided that I was going to do this project. And I'm sure a lot of you know that with the Indian passport, how difficult it is to get visas and to kind of have the freedom of movement that everybody else, you know, people from other countries take so much for granted. So I decided, okay, maybe I can do it sort of more officially. And I went to the Ministry of External Affairs. And from the lowest rung to the highest officer that I met said, can't be done, cannot do it, you cannot do it, no one has ever done it. And I think that's exactly the, you know, fire under my bum that I needed, that just because you said that I can't, I will. And I did, and I traveled, you know, 45 countries in the last 2 years. And the whole idea was to kind of meet people who would allow me to test the theory of the power of one. And because I'm such a cynic myself, it didn't take one person or two people, it took 100 people to convince me that yes, I mean, the power of one is an incredible thing, and it's what's keeping the world moving, and it's what's changing things that need to be changed. And I think the other thing that that was really, you know, something that I'll kind of, you know, keep with me for the rest of my life was that it's actually the women who are keeping the world moving. It's the women who are the enablers. Even the most incredible men that I met around the world who were, you know, doing just insane things with their lives. It could be in nature or animal conservation, could be in education or fighting corrupt governments or working in, you know, prison reforms. The one consistent theme that they had was that they wouldn't be the men that they are if they didn't have the women in their lives to support them. And if there's one, you know, I don't know, message that I can give to everybody is, especially to like every Indian parent who, if ever, you know, chances upon this video, please set your daughters free. They're capable of doing amazing things with their lives if you put faith in them. Set them free. They're capable of amazing, amazing things. That's about it. Thank you very, very much. I'm so honored to be in. I almost feel, unworthy of being here because I see all these amazing people and the things that they've done. I just wrote the stories. But in writing those stories and meeting those people, I found, a lot of courage and a lot of faith. And I think I feel empowered about my own ability and what I am capable of doing with my life. So I'm hoping that this is not the end of the story, it's just the beginning. And maybe the next time I'm here, it'll be for something that I've done, as opposed to something that others have done that I've written about. Thank you.
Thank you, Ditya. So we move on, and so that's Ditya Sharma, who's tried to find the power of one. We are on 26/11 today, which we celebrate as the power of one. We celebrate this as the Citizen Action Day because everyone can do something. We have with us Professor Pillai, and I'm going to open the mic later to people who've spoken at the Rex Conclave, so you can please come and speak. But right now, I'm going to try and call people who've not spoken at the conclave. Professor Pillai, I had the privilege of meeting him around 2 years ago when I was invited to speak at his convocation ceremony. And it was a delight speaking there because I met with all the students, and Professor Pillai has been encouraging value-based education. And like he says, it's all about inculcating the right values in tomorrow's business executives, a passion I share with him. Professor Pillai.
Thank you so much for calling me here. I don't know whether I deserve this platform. I only see 2-3 things, what's happening in the world. I look at, we are talking about the behavior of human beings. Whether it is conflict, whether it is good things, whether it is bad things. It's nothing but the behavior of human beings. Now, if there is a reason for the behavior, because it depends upon what you see. Now, if you want to alter the behavior of people, you needed to alter the seeing of people. And to alter the seeing of people, you needed to alter the being of people. That is a belief system and things like that. There's a conditioning. Now, to alter the being, it's a very great challenge in education. Now, once you alter the being, the seeing should be right. And when the seeing is right, your thinking will be right, your feeling will be right, and your behavior will be right. There is no point in talking about the behavior of human beings, whether it is Shiva Sena, whether it is politicians, whether it's leaders, whether it is a greed-based industry. That's one part. The second part is more than half of the population is youth today. And everyone wants to make money, especially business, commoditization. Now, business is 90% driven by greed. Greed may be of money, greed may be of possession and so on and so on. So I thought there must be need-based business, which will be a sadhana, that means a seva, serving-based business. Need-based business, you can still make a lot of money. Why I say this? Because unlike religious leaders or even spiritual leaders, businessmen today touch the whole life of the whole humanity. The shirt to the food we eat, to the shoe, to the belt, to the education, to the books, to the hair dye, to whatever it is, the businessman touches the lives of people. Nobody can touch the lives of people like a businessman can do. If there is a greed, I think they transfer this greed to the population. Therefore, I said I should put at least maybe 100 or 150 people whose mind can be cleaned up. They can see right and truth. And right and truth is the values and ethics, nothing else is there. Just to humanize their mind and empower them with the kind of skill set you should give to them. Then the right action will take place. So this is the way we are looking at the education for the last 26 years. I am alone in this process, except my students and some colleagues. We created Symbiosis to a certain extent. When I was to go from there, then my students came and said, sir, you have to set up another institution. So we created this Athena institution, focusing on cleaning the mind. and then empowering them with the skill set and the competencies so the right action happens by their own choice. That's the process of education we do. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Pillai. So that's an institution which was funded and created by the students who believed so much in Professor Pillai. We have with us Hema Bedi, who is being awarded for her work in trafficking and advertising, and a film professional. She has devoted her life to trafficking. Hema, may we have you up on stage, please?
Thanks, Jerry. I feel very privileged to be here to meet with all of you. And I really want to make this short and quick because, you know, I mean, there comes a point in your life where you really need to find your calling. You really need a purpose. You need to go beyond what you're doing to actually feel satisfied with yourself, your inner self, your mind. And therefore, although I came from a background of advertising and films, I had my own company in Bangalore for almost 16 years. And I came to a point where I felt, you know, I just, what the hell was I doing? You know, I mean, running around, raising money, design, creativity, great, but this design and creativity is going back into a commercial pool. And again, everything became commercial. And I got really fed up with the city ways and decided that, you know, I had to change my life. And therefore, I moved to Andhra, to a district called Anantapur, which is about 3.5 hours drive from Bangalore. And my brother was an NGO there for many, many years, for over 30 years. So I had a little bit of contact with that kind of work. But he was purely working with agricultural laborers and unification of these agricultural labors. And with that came some self-help groups and gender issues. So I took a sabbatical and I decided I would finally join him if I felt committed as much as he did to be able to serve society and serve the poor. So finally I joined him as gender coordinator. For almost 9 months I worked with him. And within 3 months of me being there, I walked straight into the villages and bang into the issue of human trafficking of young children and girls for commercial sexual exploitation. And I really freaked out. I thought this was something that, you know, one read about, but it doesn't happen. It's not a reality. And there I was sitting in the highest supply zone. Andhra has the dubious distinction of being #1 supplier to the metro cities of India. And it also has the dubious distinction of being #1 in HIV/AIDS. They're both very interconnected. You do trafficking, you can't deviate from HIV/AIDS. You do HIV/AIDS, you get into trafficking. So it just fired my imagination so much. I got so passionately driven. I said, I have to do something about this. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to do it. Etc. So we decided to get enough data information on traffickers, on girls from the villages of Anantapur district. And before you could say Jack Robinson, he had a whole pool of information, including the networks, and we decided we would share this with the district government. And you know what the district government told me? My collector turned around and told me, no, Hema, this is not possible. I said, listen, sir, it's going on right under your nose, and you're trying to tell me it's not real. I said, I've talked with some of these girls. Initially, we had a lot of hostility, but finally we were able to make headway because we went the cultural way and made headway with the villages. So, UNICEF, who pioneered this whole thing with us for almost 7-8 years, I'm really thankful to them. They spent 8 years funding me because they really believed I had something, you know, I mean, I was doing something that needed to get done. Nobody had addressed the supply zone at the grassroots. Everybody worked on the demand side. So we held workshops put the collectors, put the superintendent of police, and put all the various officials in the government, district government. We put them all together under one banner, and we brought 10 of these girls, and we said, okay, now, come on, just talk your way through. Many of them were infected with HIV/AIDS, and a lot of them wanted to return to the villages. They needed help in their rehabilitation. So the journey started there. And with it came backlash from traffickers, which, well, we faced them. We've had lots of problems with traffickers always, but we've also had excellent equations with our government. And we've always had police protection when we've needed it. So that way we've been able to handle things. And with one thing or the other, one problem came, then the next problem came. Through trial and error, because there was no role model, we finally came to a role model that could be replicated by others successfully to combat trafficking. And this we did with a combination of prevention, rehabilitation, and rescues, and reintegration of these girls into the social mainstream as well. Therefore, we also work with corporates. For us, Bangalore corporates are the ones who gave us a tremendous amount of support. Titan Industries, HSBC, and Gokul Das Images, some export garment manufacturers, where finally through NIFT we trained a couple of our girls, and many of them are now, at least 7 or 8 of them are employed in garment factories in Bangalore and Chennai. So I could go on, but there's so much to tell, and I certainly don't want you to be listening to me for the next half hour. So I just want to tell you that our USP eventually became the fact that we were the first ones who had anti-trafficking vigilant committees formed at the village level. Now that was something, I think it blew everybody's minds. So these worked so well in passing of information. They became sort of peer educators. They counseled the families, counseled the girls. They constituted of the victim or the survivor's family members, maybe she herself, plus some representative of the panchayat, like a ward member, the local teacher, who's living in that village. Then maybe somebody who is from the primary health center. So we got different segments of the government and the community to form these committees. And these committees eventually were so empowered. We had 22 of them in Anantapur district. Later we worked in Kadapa district, so we had more there. We federated them. And they had, actual, ID cards and stuff sanctioned by the SP so that they could move from village to village. And we've rehabilitated 1,800 girls from 2 districts. And we have also maybe about, I think around 300 to 400 brokers, gharwalis, agents, recruiters down the line from top to bottom. We have arrested, we have conducted rescues, and we have convicted about 10 such people. Convictions were hard. But that's it. It's not good enough. There's so much more work to do.
Thank you, Hema. Yeah, so we move on from Hema and we move on to a young doctor who's been working on the issue of human rights, Dr. Lenin Raghuvanshi. I would request all of you now to please keep it brief because I forgot to say that earlier, so everyone's been taking their own time, but yeah, okay.
Thank you. I am from the Varanasi of Uttar Pradesh, and because I started my life, my grandfather was freedom fighter and Gandhian, father is very strong communist. So both wanted to change me according to their ideology. But thanks to my grandmother, she told me never be apolitical, but always the non-political, to convert the situation. And what happened? I involved in the Bachpan Bachao Andolan, rescued more than 2,000 bonded child labor from carpet industry and brick clean. I did not find any bonded labor from my caste, means the upper caste. That struck to me, and due to that we started reconciliation movement. And very simply, we are going into the village, listening his and her unconcentrated ideas, converted into the concentrated ideas, and creating, breaking the culture of silence through the testimonial therapy. So what we developed, that was used in nowadays in Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Philippines, and Nepal. And nowadays 50,000 members of PVCHR, 72 full-timers, very big organizations. Liberate, just in the 2 years, 243 bonded labor are released and rehabilitated. So this is our small work, but the most important things nowadays, the common Mushahars, mouse-eaten people, they are coming and they are fighting for their own rights. And the reconciliation movement in the form of Neo-Dalit movements is also emerged very powerful in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Lennon. We have a young lady called Nida Shams from Pakistan. Is she here? Nida, are you here? Nida has come all the way from Pakistan to receive her award. She's been working through her cartoons and art, trying to build communities. Okay, Nida is not here. So I'm going to open the mic now, and all the awardees who just come in, feel free to come up and say a few words. Yeah, please. So we have Anant.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Anant Nevetia. I have come here to receive the award on behalf of my younger brother, Arun Nevetia. We run an organization called Rural Healthcare Foundation. It's a foundation which gives primary health care to rural people in West Bengal. We are running this organization for the last 5 years. The background of my brother is a cancer patient from 1975. We are all from business family, and in 2006, we retired from our business and wanted to give back to the society. We are running approximately 6 centers now, and in the last 5 years, more than 6 lakh people we have treated, and a number is going on. Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you so much, Anand. Yes, please come.
I'm Geeta Venkat Krishnan. I'm from Kerala, but brought up in Barakpur in Calcutta, West Bengal. I started my career, I'll not say career, it was just a call. When I was studying in class 9, I used to go to school and I used to see this pass by through the Asia's largest leprosy center. And I used to see children waving hands. And I never know why they are not going to school. I am going to school, but why these children are not going to school? I used to ask my mother why these children don't go to school. She said they are leprosy and they are outcasted. They don't get admission, and this is the thing. So after school hours, I used to go and volunteer them. Being from a very orthodox family, my father doesn't want me to go to the leprosy area, but I used to go during my play hours. I used to go and spend time. I used to play with those children. And slowly I started teaching ABCD, 1, 2, 3, whatever I learned that time. Means at class 9, poems and, story and all. Then I was still continuing this. During my annual exam over, my parents wanted me to put me to some other extracurricular activities. So I said, no, okay. With pressure, I had to go, but then I used to steal time from there and I used to go over there. So then my mother was a very cooperative, she knew. So she supported me. My father till death never knew that I went to this leprosy area because he's a very Kattar Brahmin. And then I used to did my college. That time Masters in Social Work was not there. It's MA in Sociology was there. So anyhow, I completed my degree. B.Ed and everything. My father wanted me to be a school teacher. My elder sister wanted to be made her also teacher. They wanted to tell her that you have to be also a teacher because it's a safe job. I was in Kendra Vidyalaya as a teacher for 2 years. I got a job over there. One fine morning I resigned. My principal said, come with the medical certificate and come and join after 1 month. But I said no. Then I started working with, when I was doing college, I used to see the children in the Siala station, and they used to become friends. They were rag pickers, pocket pickpockets and all. But when I became friendly with this, then they started saying, "Stop Didi's pocket." So this all made me differences, and then now 14 children's home we are running in West Bengal, hospital for the HIV infected affected, as well as home for them. And we also do night patrolling, rescuing repatriating children in child protection mobile ambulance. We have maximum number of children been rescued. I go myself and rescued in a very difficult circumstances, and have got also award from the police, Calcutta police. And today I am here for this award. Thank you. My only one message is that if you invest on mother, you invest on the society. If you invest on children, you invest on nation. So, empower the mothers first. Thank you.
Thank you. So I open the mic to everybody, not just the Karmavir Puraskar awardees, but also the Rex Karmavir fellows, if you want to come in. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Pooja Kapoor. I am not a good orator. I hate mics. And I think I was just very inspired to come and say a few words just now, because I have my twin sister sitting there, and we're a two-member team that basically did have corporate jobs. We were from an advertising background, and 12 years ago, we decided to start towards a special cause. It's not an NGO, it's a pure voluntary initiative. And the reason I wanted to come and talk is because our work is about people like y'all and what y'all are doing. I did start volunteering with a special school, and I realized I wasn't equipped at all I didn't have what it took to teach special children. And I came out feeling very humbled, very, very inadequate. And I decided my life was going to be about people who actually did ground level work, who had what it took to change people's lives. And we were going to, if I couldn't teach a special child, I was at least going to try and support in whatever way I could the person who had the expertise to do so. Well, today thankfully, we do teach blind children. I'm a trainer myself, but that's taken a lot of time and a lot of involvement to reach that level. So I really hope, we've heard so many inspiring stories just today itself, that in some way or the other, we can support each other, and I'm really, really thankful to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja, and it's a pleasure having both of you here. Yeah. I'm going to first give a chance to people who are not going to speak on stage at the Rex Conclave, and then I'll open the mic. Yeah, Freddie, you can come in because you've not yet spoken. But, Orko, I'll surely give you a chance, but we'll just kind of, yeah. So let some people who've not got the chance to express their thoughts also express their ideas. But make it brief, Freddie, yeah?
Namaste. You see, we are conducting meeting months after months for the last 80 months, for networking meeting and all. So first we say, good morning. If no answer, then say good morning. Then no, good morning till they say back, all of us. Now, the thing is that I'm here today. I'm not sure about myself that I'm worthy of or qualified or anything for receiving that Karmavir Puraskar. That's what I feel. So this was regarding that, what we created was a belonging, where we do belong. That when I saw that, 2000, when that World Trade Center attack, what a good planning, what a good belonging, even at their own cost. Even again 2004, what happened in Bombay, so much committed. So then I felt, when these people who are working for a bad cause can be so committed, why not good people can come together? Very easy. That is risky. Here it is very easy. It was started like that, with that thought started, calling one by one, and I belong to a community, lethargic, laid back, sushegat, chalta hai. That's what I feel. So this was regarding that, what we created was a belonging, where we do belong. That when I saw that, 2000, when that World Trade Center attack, what a good planning, what a good belonging, even at their own cost. Even again 2004, what happened in Bombay, so much committed. So then I felt, when these people who are working for a bad cause can be so committed, why not good people can come together? Very easy. That is risky. Here it is very easy. It was started like that, with that thought started, calling one by one, and I belong to a community, lethargic, laid back, sushegat, chalta hai, pale pade hain. So like that. So it was a little difficult for me initially. Now it went on for the last 6-7 years. We conducted months after months, months for the last 80 months without miss. Networking, infomercial and all, lot of mindset, mind changing was there. We conducted 2 global convention, all sort of things we did. But only that for a transformation, you have to create, belong where you do belong. There are so many things, other things to, sorry. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Freddy. So Freddy, basically his passion and mission in life is to promote entrepreneurship amongst Christians. And he's been doing that. I think I share the passion because I don't see too many Christians who are entrepreneurs. Like you said, we are mostly laid back, especially if you come from Goa. We are more laid back than the Mangaloreans, but yeah. But I think if we can kind of push that, there could be entrepreneurs coming out from this. So thank you so much. Yes, yeah, please do come up.
Hello everybody, I'm Jyotsna Sharma. I'm really very humbled with receiving this award. I really don't know whether I deserve it or not, but nevertheless, I'd like to say a few words about myself. For the last 20 years, yes, last 20 years, I have been working non-stop for the helpless street animals. And my mother encouraged me in this. I was a child and I used to see so much of animal abuse all over. It used to really hurt me, and she helped me, she encouraged me, and today, by the grace of God, my family and my husband, on my own, like a one-woman army, I feed about 400 dogs, street dogs, every day. I have people working for me, and I have a small child to take care of, but no matter what, every day, there is no food cooked in my house unless the dog kitchen in my house has prepared the food to be taken out. So I really wish that I can spread this word, I can spread this movement. A lot of people, I would love them to join me. I do have a dream of opening up a shelter, but that is a very small aspect of it. More and more awareness, like our father of the nation had said, that the country is judged by the way it treats its animals. So I would like our country to wake up and see that yes, there are many human beings suffering, but yes, there are some who are speechless and they also need to be looked at. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jyotsna. And Jyotsna does some great work with animal welfare. And we have one of our co-founders, Amla Akineni, is a very big animal activist herself. And she's so right, because Gandhi did say that society is known by the way it treats its animals. And I don't think our society treats animals too well. We worship the cow in the morning and beat up the cow in the afternoon. So, sorry, we treat people like animals, yeah. Love things, use people. Right? So the mic is still open.
हर जर्रा चमकता है अनवार इलाही से, हर जर्रा चमकता है अनवार इलाही से, मगर हर सांस ये कहती है कि हम हैं तो खुदा भी है. We are all there, that the God has an existence. So in fact, I'm thankful to Zeri and his team. I'm a very simple person compared to the work, the kind of the work you have done. I have done nothing. Then we met in Germany, Berlin. And in one program, Jerry has a fantastic vision, it seems. He saw something, asked me the biodata and gave it to him. What we did in Maharashtra. we have education for the slum children. In my own institution, I fought with the government of Maharashtra, saying that we need to do something for the school children, the slum children, who drop out after 8th standard. So we collected money from the clubs like Rotary Club and other foundations, and we trained every year 80 young boys and girls, some of them children of rickshawala, some of the prostitutes' daughter, prostitutes' sons, and 80 students for 3 months, 150 hours. We used our own spare time of the laboratories. The college said that we will not give you a single rupee. He said, fine, give the labs. I talked to the staff that gives spare time. Then the Rotary Club came forward, said we will pay the honorarium. And like that for electrical maintenance, electronic repairs, computer repairing, and beauty culture. I'm proud to tell you that some of the students who came to us didn't have even to pay the bus fare. So we paid the bus fare. One of my students, whose father was a rickshaw puller, today is an electrical contractor under whom 5 diploma engineers are working today. And the highlight is one of the students, T. Venkatraman. He passed 10th standard in 3rd attempt. Today he has an electronic repairing center with an annual turnover of 1.5 crore. And he married an engineering graduate girl. He's a South Indian married to a Kashmiri Brahmin girl. That is the contribution. And as I said, I'll end saying that to zinda hai, तो जिंदगी की जीत पर यकीन कर. आपके लिए मैं कह रहा हूँ, आपके लिए. हम आपके जैसा कभी नहीं बन सकते. And as it rightly said, every woman contains a man, woman. So woman will create man. So तो जिंदा है तो जिंदगी की जीत पर यकीन कर, है स्वर्गीय अगर कहीं उतार ला जमीन पर. Thank you.
So like I said, he did spring a surprise this time also, right? I told him 1 minute, he took 5. Thank you, Professor Yugal Railu. But great work. I met him first in Berlin, and happy that he started off on the journey. He's going to be one of our ex-global fellows. Yes, please come in, Rupin. Yeah. 1 minute.
Yeah.
Don't do a Yugal Railu on
Yeah. Sabko namaskar. I want to speak in little bit Hindi and English. Myself, Rupen Patnaik. I'm working with most tribal and neglected pockets in basically KBK regions. That is most tribal dominant area. Since last couple of years or 1 decade, I'm working with them for their sustainable livelihood development. Since when the Forest Act came in 2006, उसके बीच में जो हुआ है अभी तक आई एम जस्ट ए फैसिलिटेटर. मेरा कुछ काम रोल नहीं है. आई एम जस्ट फैसिलिटेटिंग द ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी टू एनेबलिंग देम अबाउट द रिसोर्सेज, टू रिस्टोर द रिसोर्सेज. तो उसमें अभी तक 5330 का जो हाउस होल्ड है, ट्राइबल हाउस होल्ड, वो उनको एक्चुअली ज़मीन का पट्टा मिला है. दैट द सिंपल थिंग. और जब भी कैसे एक महसूस होता है कि जब हम लोग जाते हैं गाँव में, तो एक सडनली हम लोग विजिट कर रहे थे, तो एक 60 साल का बूढ़ा आदमी आके बोलता है, भैया आपके लिए मेरा ज़मीन मिल गया. इट्स ए सेंस ऑफ फीलिंग कि हमने लोगों के लिए कुछ किया है. अभी मैं वही मतलब लास्ट 10 साल से जो काम किया उसको छोड़ के थोड़ा अभी कर्पोरेट में ज्वाइन किया हूँ, कि उनको बताना चाहता हूँ कि काम कैसे होता है, कि सोशल कॉज और सोशल जस्टिस कैसे लोगों के लिए होना ज़रूरी है. थैंक यू.
Thank you, Rupin. I'm very happy that with all humility he said that I'm just a facilitator because it's enabling communities to fight for their rights. Unlike most NGOs which make communities dependent so that they can get funding on them. You wanted to say something, Nidhi? Yeah, please come up.
I'll take less than a minute. Those of you who are working with rural children, slum children, please take down a URL. It's www.braillecards.org/audio.htm. It is an online audio library in Indian languages which has MP3 content. Right now it has 16 Indian languages and we hope to add a lot more. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi. Yes. Yes. Okay. Why don't you all come up on stage and come. So there's Orko, there's Stanzen. Orko and Stanzen are ex-global fellows. I'm sorry, I've not. Kuldeep Singh Bisht. Come, please come up. So, can start.
Hi, I'm going to take 120 seconds or less. You can start your stopwatches now. I'm not going to utter a single syllable about what I do or what the organization that I'm with does. Just to make this simpler, I'm going to request you, especially those of you who are connected with the arts in any way, or the younger ones among us, just take down a URL like she also did. It's reclaiming Rama, one word, reclaimingrama.wordpress.com. And I'm just going to take the next 40 seconds to tell you what this is about. It's just a concept that we don't own. We're putting out there that 6th of December this year is going to be the 20th anniversary of the Babri Masjid demolition. Like every year, we are going to organize protest meetings and we're going to remember, but what we also do in the process is to allow an icon like Rama to be appropriated by certain right-wing fundamentalist forces. It could be the divinity of any religion. Whilst we must also remember there's a huge difference between the Rama of Kabir, of Surdas, of Tulsidas, and the Rama of Nitin Gadkari and Narendra Modi. So the simple concept here is that on this 6th of December, we organize tiny, small-scale events in different parts of the country which celebrate these other Ramas, these alternative Ramas, which also in some ways perhaps touches upon A.K. Ramanujan's essay, 300 Ramayanas, which was shunted out of the DU's syllabus. We are doing something in Kolkata, and we have as our partner Earthcare Books. We have Comet Media Foundation in Bombay, who are organizing Kabir Dohas there. We have the Deccan Development Society run by Satish, who are going to have tribal women singing their songs to Rama, often very irreverent and sexual in nature. And I've given you the URL. I'll repeat it once more before I end. You can take it down. The way to participate is just go there, leave a comment saying who you are. You could be an individual, a collective, or an organization, what you want to do and where. And the idea is that it's not just this one day's ritual, but in an unfunded, non-centralized way, it goes on at least for the next 1 year, and that we especially engage through artistic means, through these traditional spiritual performing forms, with youth in schools and colleges. So the URL once again is reclaimingrama.wordpress.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Orko.
Short. Namaste. I'm Kuldeep. I don't have any choice but to speak in Hindi because I understand Hindi better than English. बचपन में मैं जिन चीज़ों से गुजरा, बट स्पोर्ट्समैन होते हुए उन चीज़ों को नकारता हुआ आज जहाँ आप जैसे लोगों के बीच में मैं बोल रहा हूँ, तो वही एक्सपीरियंस मैंने कोशिश किया कि जो मेरे मैं इंदिरा गांधी नेशनल ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी से शायद मिस्टर पिल्ले इग्नू से हैं, और हमारे सामने ये मैदानगढ़ी विलेज जिसकी ज़मीन पर ये यूनिवर्सिटी खड़ी हुई है। तो मैंने सोचा जो एक्सपीरियंस मुझे है, जो रग्बी जो गेम में खेलता हूँ, उससे जो मुझे मिला है मैं इन लोगों के बीच में बांट सकूँ। तो आज मैं देखता हूँ कि गांव के लोगों को, क्योंकि लैंड है उनके पास, पैसा वो कमाते नहीं है, लैंड के थ्रू उनको पैसा मिलता है, बट वो किस तरह से उसको खर्च करें ये उनके सामने बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम है। तो मैं अपने एक्सपीरियंस शेयर करके उनको रग्बी में लाया, और रग्बी के थ्रू जो लाइफ वो अब इंजॉय कर रहे हैं, जो बैड हैबिट्स जो आप देखते हैं समाज में, उससे जो बचे हुए हैं, क्योंकि आप एक स्पोर्ट्समैन है तो मतलब मोस्टली होता ही है कि आप बैड हैबिट से दूर रहें। तो उसके थ्रू मैं देख रहा हूँ कि उनकी जो डेवलपमेंट हो रही है उससे मैं बहुत खुश हूँ, और जो मेरे साथ जो लोगों ने जो काम किया है उसके लिए मैं बहुत खुश हूँ। प्लस हम जो NGOs किट के लिए कर रहे हैं कि जैसे आप उनको रग्बी बॉल देखते हो, जो फ्रीडम वो फील करते हैं वो मैं और कहीं नहीं देख पाता बच्चों में, क्योंकि हर जगह उन पर एक दबाव बनाया जाता है पढ़ाई का। तो मैं चाहता हूँ कि पढ़ाई के साथ वो उनका खुद का भी डेवलपमेंट हो, फिज़िकली, इमोशनली, मेंटली। तो थ्रू रग्बी वो हम काम कर रहे हैं, थ्रू माय फ्रेंड्स, माय कोलीग्स एंड थ्रू विद माय प्लेयर्स। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Good evening. One evening there was a writer and he was walking on the beach and he saw someone from a distance like dancing, yeah? And out of curiosity, this writer, he walks a little faster, and when he was approaching closer to that person, he saw that person was not dancing. In fact, he was picking something and throwing back into the water. This writer asked to that gentleman, "Hello, gentleman, what are you doing?" He said, I am throwing starfish back into the water. And then the writer asked question, can't you see there are millions of starfish lying on the beach? And the sun is sinking, it's getting dark. What difference are you going to make? And he didn't say anything. He picked up one starfish, thrown back into the water, and said, at least it makes a difference with that fish. My friends, for the last more than 12 years, I'm engaged in social development with this vision that I'm not going to transform the world, but at least it will make a small difference to a starfish, to a child, to a young person, to a poor woman. And I started my social development engagement in a remote area, the place where I belong, Ladakh, where I initiated with HIV/AIDS, and gradually I started my work at different levels, and today I'm working in 8 countries in the Asia region, helping the governments and different stakeholders in formulation of the national youth policy, developing strategies, institutional capacities. And so that's how I'm doing. And okay, and we always talk about peace and sustainable development. And if we really want to see, okay, peace and sustainable development in the future, and this is the time we should make an investment for youth development. The history of the world, the history of India have never seen such a large youth population, and that too informed, educated youth, those who have access to information technology. My experience of working with young people demonstrates that young people are creative, innovative, and coming out with solutions and solving problems. So this is an opportunity where we can collectively work, and at the end, coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stanson. Stanson, the coordinator for the Commonwealth Youth Program, works with a lot of youth, and hopefully will be able to work on that. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm working in bits and pieces with a lot of NGO organizations. So I want to share my view. I'm Colonel Kalidhar, now retired. I have come to a conclusion which I want to share with you. All things which are happening are due to neglect of the government. One aspect only I wanted to go into detail. If you go to slums, you go to poor persons, they're getting into trafficking, they're getting into drugs, they're getting into everything. Cause is one. That is the male folk who is responsible to run the family is drunkard. Their ladies are being beaten up, they have to work, and their kids are suffering. So drinking is one issue which is killing our society. I don't know why government want to earn money from this. One hand they are earning money, other hand they are spending on de-addiction. I don't know what sort of message they are giving. I go across on the road, don't drink, don't do this. Other side, drink is bad for health, this. So I will request all of you who are working in your own way, if you can put the pressure that drink has nothing good. I am telling you, you analyze its chemistry, you will find it's harmful for the body and nothing. So I request everyone to start campaigns in whatever way to stop this. Gutka they have stopped is good, but not completely. It has become an ATM for police persons. They go there and take the money and allow. Whatever it is, some impact is there. So drinking should be stopped, and all of us together should come out with some sort of movement so that these families are saved. Thank you. Thank you for giving the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. Is there anybody else? Ravi? Yes, come.
थैंक यू आई विल स्पीक इन हिंदी. एक्चुअली मैं बनारस से हूँ और हेमंत नाम है मेरा जो काम है यूथ एम्पावरमेंट, पीस और किस तरह से यूथ को कैसे प्रमोट किया जाए. तो मैं जो जिस तरह मूवमेंट करता हूँ उसमें मेरा स्लोगन है खेल खेल से पर्यावरण से मेल. किस तरह से हम प्ले के द्वारा इन्वायरमेंट्स को प्रोटेक्ट करने की बात करें। मतलब कि हम जब पेंटिंग भी बनाते हैं, पेंटिंग कमीशन करवाते हैं, तो उसमें इन्वायरमेंट के लिए प्रति होता है। जब हम कभी कभी सम्मेलन ऑर्गेनाइज करते हैं तो इन्वायरमेंट्स के लिए होता है जस्ट, और साथ में यूथ एम्पावरमेंट की बात करते हैं। मुझे याद है, मैं खुशी महसूस कर रहा हूँ आप लोग के सामने शेयर करते हुए कि 6 साल पहले एक लड़का मेरे से प्रश्न करता है, भैया हम आपके साथ काम करते हैं, मुझे क्या मिला अभी तक? तो मैं बोला तुम्हें यही मिला कि तुम आज मेरे से एक क्वेश्चन आज कर रहे हो। मैं बताऊं, वो लड़का वो कभी ट्रॉली चला के जो गाय जो उसको खाने के लिए भूसा होता है वो बेचता था, और इत्तेफाक से वो लड़का मेरे साथ काम करते करते उसने बीए किया, बीए के बाद बीएड किया, आज वो एमएड तक पास हुआ। तो हम उस जो कॉमन जो यूथ है रूरल का, हम उसको एम्पावरमेंट बनाने का काम करते हैं। जय हिंद।
Just goes to reinforce that the forces of evil in the country are by far a few, because there's huge energy happening all around, in all walks of life. Yes.
My name is Tanvi, and I'm in my final year studying economics at Delhi University. It's extremely overwhelming for me to be here because I've literally just started off in my journey. I started a youth organization called Becoming I Foundation about 3 years ago. And where that came from is one simple thing that I think young people all over the world have started now feeling, which is I want to feel relevant. I want to feel important in whatever that I'm doing. And I want to sort of spread that feeling of relevance and importance in other people. So we started working with victims of sex trafficking. We have now 4 projects working in education in primary schools. We're working in over 25 schools across Delhi. And we have a network, thankfully, of more than about 6,000 people all around the world who've literally emailed us and asked us, so what have you done, how have you started it, and how can we replicate the same thing in our own countries? I had an email from Egypt around the revolution last year, and my first question was, how did you get the internet to even send me an email? So I think that's something phenomenal in terms of how much and how many people we can reach. So all I'm going to say is that if I think in the next 10 to 20, 25 years, I can even achieve half the amount that everyone sitting here can, I would think that I've been successful. Thank you so much for recognizing me.
Thank you, Tanvi. Mr. Ravi Chaudhary, you wanted to speak something? Sailesh, are you ready? You can speak in any language you want.
Yes, I am Shailesh Shetty from Mumbai. My father was a very social worker, active. So everything came spontaneously for me. I am also involved in social work since the past 4-5 years. And encouragement is one subject which really touches my heart. And I am in blood. Every year I conduct blood donation camps in 15th of August to keep humanity alive and to keep tribute to martyrs of freedom fighters. This encouragement, I also my next crusade is for hindrance-free footpath. So this, I am very thankful for iCongo to giving this prestigious honor to me. This honor will really motivate me to carry on my future crusade against injustice. I can tell you that anybody can make a difference. I did it in my own small way. And every Indian is responsible for his country, and it's everybody's duty to be able to make a difference. And I think no one should be a coward, and everybody should be fight against this injustice. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra. Sorry.
Thank you, Sailesh. I heard Sailesh Shetty saying Jai Hind and Jai Maharashtra. I should also say Jai Bhim along with that. Right? Yes. Yeah. Nireen, you want to come and say something? Yeah. We just have 7 minutes more, so whoever wants to come in. Mr. Chaudhary, you want to come in? Yeah.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm Dr. Nireen Dharwala, and I just want to say that gender discrimination is one thing that I have always felt that we women in our country have to face some or the other kind of discrimination. And my entire life I have only thought about one thing. If I change, I will be able to change other women around me, other men around me. So my entire struggle, my career has been on really believing that change can happen, and change does happen, especially in communities where we work. Situations are so difficult, but very sustained work does bring about a change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Naireen. That's Naireen Daruwala, who's been doing some great work in Bombay with gender justice. We have Mr. Ravi Chaudhary. Mr. Ravi Chaudhary is one of our Rex Karmavir Global Fellows who's going to be awarded the citation tomorrow.
Jerry, what an amazing 1.5 hours. This was like music for the soul. A group of people, each of whom has listened to the voice of conscience. And that's what separates these wonderful people from the rest of the world. You are all, people tell me they've all set up NGOs. In my book, Quest for Exceptional Leadership, I have forecast, and I'm convinced today more than ever before, that the future will be changed by what I call IPCs, institutions to promote consciousness in society. These are the creme de la creme of NGOs, and you represent that wonderful group, and I compliment you, congratulate you, and hope that you'll continue to do this remarkable work. What is it that is common between all of us, all of you here, apart from listening to your conscience? You are spreading love. And this brings forth one of my favorite themes and quotes, that we discovered wheel, the civilization changed. We discovered fire, the civilization changed. And when mankind discovers love, it will be the birth of a really true civilization emerging among us. And I think that's what you're all engaged in. Wonderful people, thanks for being what you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. So that's Mr. Chaudhary. He's been at the helm, leading various Tata companies as a consultant now, trying to work on promoting individual social responsibility in businesses. Yeah, and that's that. Yes.
Good evening. I'm Nisha Kunju from Bombay. We are running an NGO for wildlife, wild animal and birds. In Bombay, there are many NGOs for street dogs, but not for wildlife and wild birds. Because of that, we started an wildlife NGO, means only for the wild animals. Because every people go behind the dogs, cats, dog cats and dog cats. Every people, seeing the dog, they will treat that animal. But no one care about the wild snake is going, they will beat up and kill them totally. Means, but one day we have called one NGO. I have got a parrot. He told, this is not a time to call us. 9 o'clock. This is the time to call. Sorry, ma'am. And down the call. Then we thought what to do. Then we thought we should start an NGO. At the 19, my bro started the NGO called PAUSE Mumbai. That time I was 11. Even that, wherever I see animal, I used to give biscuit. All my friends told, you're pagal or what? Giving the food to animals and you're pagal? What you are doing? Going to school, taking a biscuit to the dogs or cats? Don't do that. No one friends about, no one scared. Then I thought, no, if anybody is not care about, why should I care? We should not care about the people what say. We should care the voiceless animal, what they feel. One day I patted the dog behind his head. He started shaking his tail. He become my friend, and I given him daily. Wherever I go, he come behind me. That's way the treat animal. We should not kill animal. We should not even a rat we are finding, we should not kill that rat. This is my message to. Thank you.
Thank you, Nisha. That was brilliant. So we'll kind of conclude with that. There's some tea and some snacks happening. And thank you so much. Just to clarify what Mr. Ravichod, not everybody being awarded today is from NGOs. They're all from different walks of life, from media, from businesses. It's individual awards. It's not being given to NGOs. So it's, I just want to clarify that. Thank you so much. Join us for tea and we'll start the award ceremony at 6 p.m. sharp. So please do assemble inside at 6 p.m. sharp. Thank you.